aka Mando Garcia, aka Amex. He actually did a lot to ensure that we had the space here. I want to thank Diana Mendez, the owner proprietor of the spot. Open the doors for us. I want to thank Di Medina as well for helping us also in securing the spot. So now let's introduce the event. So this event today is going to be Bullets for Luis, where we're going to kind of we're going to be introducing some of Luis's ideas in the campaign, and also have poets, speak to the visions of a better future, of a new world, of a way that we could live. It begins with the imagination, and then it proceeds from there. So we're going to open up, and we're just going to get right into it with Brianna Munoz. It's going to be our first poet for the night. So me and Brianna, we did a show in East LA one time. We did this kind of experimental thing where I did the bio after the person read, just to not bias anyone. But we're gonna go a little more traditional today. I'll give you a few words about Brianna. So Brianna Munoz is a poet from Southern California. She's the author of Loose Lips, published by Prickly Pear Publishing in 2019. And Everything is Returned to the Soil, published by Flower Song Press in 2021. She has performed poetry at places like UNIAC, the National Union of Writers and Artists in Cuba, taking the Tijuana Cultural Center, El Centro Cultural de La Raza in San Diego and beyond. Brianna currently serves as the volunteer event coordinator for the Sims Library of Poetry and the volunteer event coordinator for Luis J. Rodriguez for California Governor 22 campaign. So please welcome to the stage, Brianna.
Thank you guys. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Diane, Ideed. I'm really happy and honored to be here with you all. This is titled, My Poem Isn't a Persuasive Essay. How many more poems do we need to write until the children are hopscotching, feet against white lined, shapes against asphalt, rather than in cages? How much longer do we continue psychotically scribbling, smash the patriarchy, no war with Iran, water is life, Black Lives Matter, give the poor kid medical attention, the cold floor is no place for their last breath, goddammit. How many more hands angrily performing stanzas, lips releasing spit of rage and helplessness? Poets stand up because we hardly know how else to help. Because if we don't vomit out metaphors, it might be my breakfast. Poets stand up in response to your lack of credibility. Toddler president tweets, my lord, my poem isn't a persuasive essay for your vote. My poem is a cry for help, released by pen and page. My poem is a shout, it is an airstrike on your country club. How many more Langston Hughes? How many more grandmothers holding signs that read, I can't believe I'm still protesting this shit? How many more Maya Angelos? How many more Allen Ginsbergs? Howls of anti-war? How many more John Lennons, Bedins for peace? How many more banned books? Your White House is filled with cisgendered white men, dominating Mother of Mary in fishnets underneath her faintly blue mantle. Donald Trump, oh, how I've grown sick of that name, regulating uteruses, teasing her clit with your AR-15s, blood on fingertips. My poem isn't a persuasive essay on gun control, but how many more children answer me? This isn't a rhetorical question. How many more poets? How many more martyrs? How many more pipelines? How many more oil spills? How much more spilled blood? How many more traumatic brain injuries until your stomachs feel satisfied? How many more doors do my small knuckles need to knock on? Write a poem describing your thoughts on war. Thank you guys. So Matt was joking around about the East LA event. But yeah, we read at the Boathouse Gallery and at the Plaza de la Raza in East LA, Lincoln Heights. And this was part of a, it's like a Ruben Salazar event. And so this is the poem that I wrote specifically for that. This is titled 50th Anniversary of the Chicano Moratorium of Poem. On the 50th anniversary of the Chicano Moratorium, indigenous Mexica dancers gather in ceremony at Atlantic Avenue Park. With brown berets, student activists, and community organizers. Their heads adorned by copilis with pheasant feathers or animal skins worn like Aztec warriors ready for battle, and copal burning skyward toward Creator, calling for the cleansing of a racist system. Through the prayer of their drum and dance, they say, "No more killings of our people." The procession moves toward historical Whittier Boulevard against this heat of a Southern Californian summer. On black asphalt, their feet are wrapped by musical chachayotes and release with chants of painful remembrance. 50 years ago, 3 were killed, including Ruben Salazar, a Mexican-American martyr of journalism. During the same pilgrimage, a march for peace, met by the countering LA Sheriff's Department. This time is hardly different, where the same slogans are used on cardboard signs even after half a century has passed. Stop killing us. We will not be intimidated. Abrazos, no balazos. Stop Chicano genocide. Thank you, guys. All right, I'll read one more. This is titled Monarch. Wherever it is. Yeah, the last time I was in Fresno, I read at the same venue. It was part of Lit Hop, and it was I read like right after I did, so it's nice to be here again and sharing the same stage. Okay. My heart palpitates, Mexica, monarch, wiwit, warrior. But my primos me dicen pocha. When the mezcal, gusano, habanero slide down my throat with ease, this is proof to them that my skin is not just this color from a weekend at Papa's and Beer, hair braided by hands of women working from sunup to sundown, and glitter plastic beads. Manitas reach out toward me on the boardwalk with hand-painted turtle figurines. I give the chiquilla $5 even though I am not in the market for more knickknacks. At the backyard party, my tongue trips over itself when I ask for no meat. The señoras roll eyes and the men wearing too much cologne pat me down like TSA but with their eyes. I want to tell them that I listen to Bowie and they listen to Chalino. Therefore, it would just never work out. But when the Vicente Hernandez comes onto cue, I become my father. One belch of y volver, and suddenly I've got a tortilla con carnitas y cerveza on a summer day, panza. Sweat and dirt and leather horse reins, a true vaquero. Mother Earth speaks to me in Nahuatl, in Spanish, and in my gringo English, calls me mija when I get frustrated, like my tias, but with less hairspray. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Brianna. Brianna has books for sale. You want to tell them about your book before you...
Sure, yep. I didn't want to steal too much, because if you have money, donate it to the campaign, but I did bring some books published by Flower Song Press. This came out in June of last year. Yeah.
All right. Up next, we have another Flower Song author. Okay, I'm going to stick to the bios. Dana Romero is a Mexican-American spoken word artist from Dunbar, California. Romero is the author of My Name is Romero, Flower Song Press, A book reviewed by Gustavo Arellano, Ask a Mexican, Curtis Mares, University of Babylon, and founding member of Ozamali, U.S. Baylor. Romero has appeared at over 75 colleges and universities in 30 different states in the United States. Romero's work has been published in literary magazines in the United States, England, and Canada. Romero has opened for Latin Grammy-winning bands Ozamali and La Santa Cecilia. Romero's work has been published in anthologies alongside poet laureates such as Joey Harjo, Lawrence Ferlinghetti, Luis J. Rodriguez, Jack Hirschman, and Tongo Easton Martin. Romero has won the Uptown Slam in historic Green Mill in Chicago, the birthplace of slam poetry. Please welcome to the stage, David Abraham.
Thank you to everyone for putting this together. It's really a pleasure to be here, an honor to have this opportunity to show some respect and some love to this campaign and this great man and this vision for California. So the first poem that I'm going to perform today is the story of an undocumented student athlete. This poem is called Undocumented Football. When life throws everything at you, don't drop the ball. Don't drop the ball. Blue 42, set, hike. A brown quarterback's fingers tighten around the white laces of a football. Roosevelt versus Garfield, they meet today upon an annual battleground where local legends spell rivalry in defensive and offensive formations. Upon this old field, in this dirty stadium, football sounds a lot like Boyle Heights, like East LA, like years of pride and history. Sounds like Roosevelt is in motion. Number 42, Miguel is with them, crossing the line of scrimmage clad in red and yellow. His muscles tell a story. Miguel has always been running from La Migra, Las Placas. Everyone who wants to stop him, ask him, ¿Dónde están los papeles? Where are your papers? Miguel's too fast though. How fast? Too fast. Too fast for borders, laws, checkpoints, dogs. Too fast for fences, ditches, detention centers, and walls. Definitely too fast for the fool. Unfortunate enough to be Dean up on him now. Through it all, under the glare of stadium lights, past the cheering, booing, chanting, and screaming through a maze of players like a beam of holy light, Miguel's vision is clear. He loves this game. It gives him focus, gave him purpose. Miguel will be defined by this moment. He knows this. No college will recruit him. His record doesn't really scream draft pick, but that's not the issue. Miguel never cared for politics. He just loved his coach, his team, this American game of football, his dream to make a catch in the only important game that he could. Miguel will not score the winning touchdown. This game will be added to a losing record that will make for a losing season. There's so many reasons for Miguel to drop the ball. Walk out of this stadium, just another statistic. Undocumented student, faceless, immigrant. There are so many reasons for Miguel to drop the ball. So as it spirals towards him, carrying the weight of a future unfathomable, he repeats to himself like a prayer, don't drop the ball. Don't drop the ball. So he catches it like how he catches his diploma, like how he catches his degree, like how he catches the hand of his high school sweetheart, and they cross the threshold of that goal line together. He cradles the ball in his arms like his son John, firstborn legal, firstborn free to pursue his dreams and not always be running so damn hard. This is just one story from the East LA Classic. Roosevelt versus Garfield. Just one game for Miguel of undocumented football. Thank you. All right. So the next poem I have for you is a very cheerful one, and by that I'm being joking. This poem is about the Minutemen. This poem is called Patriots and Lunatics. It would be a disservice to give self-appointed patriots, dirt and grit, stars and stripes, red-blooded Americans the title lunatic, except when it fits them as comfortably as orange jumpsuits or pine box coffins. Chris Simcox, was a man with an American dream. Move out to the Southwest, grab some guns, take a last stand like Wyatt Earp at the OK Corral, shoot it out until the bitter end. Aside from the usual delusions of grandeur, Chris Simcox, co-founder of the Minutemen, harbored a much darker secret. At night, we arrive. Never mean I've never been there. When they cross from Sonora to Arizona, Chihuahua to Texas, but I know it. Not the types to be intimidated by a line on a map, a line in the sand, or a river. I picture them emerging from the water indignant, clothes soaked, wet shirts and blouses over wet backs. They call them wetbacks, as if somehow the strength in them to carry adversity would be grounds for anything derogatory. You should add alert eyes, calloused hands, muscled torsos, sun-hardened skin, tired and dehydrated but still running legs to that long list of epithets. Wetback is just another word for survivor. There were no survivors. Home massacre. Jason J.T. Reddy, neo-Nazi, former member of the Minutemen, put a gun to his head. But not before murdering his girlfriend, her daughter's boyfriend, and their child. Brisenia Flores was 9 years old when she was murdered. Shauna Ford, Jason Eugene Bush, Albert Gaxiola, 2 Minutemen and their guide crept into the Flores house under the cover of night, looking for drugs. They didn't find any, so they shot Brisenia, her mother, and her father, stole their jewelry, rode back to their hideout, didn't make out with much. Not enough to cover the cost of a new headquarters. See, these vigilantes had a patriotic plan. They were going to rob them some Mexicans to fund the training and arming of more Minutemen, because it's Mexicans who are the dangerous ones, right? Chris Simcox, co-founder of the Minutemen, has a problem, has a disease. This defender of American values and American children couldn't stop himself from touching them. 3 girls under the age of 10, 5 counts of pedophilia, including acts perpetrated against his own daughter. I am glad that our borders are kept safe by patriots and lunatics, dead or locked up for now, while more cowboys, vigilantes, neo-Nazis, pedophiles, murderers, and Minutemen ride off into the sunset. They ride with blood on their hands, waiting for us to finally bury them. Thank you. So the last poem I'm going to share this evening is dedicated to the memory of Anastasio Hernandez Rojas, who was murdered by over a dozen Border Patrol agents as he was crossing over from San Diego to his home in Mexico. And this poem is called The Ladder. My apologies, I'm having difficulty finding it right now. All right. Oh, goodness gracious. How are you all doing today?
Good. Take your time, you'll find it.
Find that or observations.
Ah, yes, I forgot. I put the lyrics in there. Actually, you know what? Let's hear our open letter to Donald Trump instead. All right, here we go.
We have a thing going on here.
Dear Donald Trump, in 2015, you announced your candidacy for President of the United States. In front of American flags, podium bearing your name, a platform of hate. Talked about making America great. For who? It wasn't for us. Latinx America. You called us criminals, drug dealers, and rapists. A nameless wave of people coming from Mexico and South America. Donald Trump, do you know anything? Heard of Central America? Thought to throw in a statistic. Like 7% of immigrants come to America from El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras, with saying the places we come from, the most basic of differences, have alienated your supporters? Yes. The suburban racists, the hardcore hicks, to them, it's too much to say Latinx, Hispanic, or indigenous. To them, we're all Mexicans or we're all spics. Donald Trump, you call us criminals. Maybe you forgot how the United States stole half of Mexico, how NAFTA stole much of what was left. Maybe you forgot about the theft of the lives of Torrijos, Allende, and Arbenz. Maybe you forgot about the bombing of Panama and the United Fruit Company. You call us drug dealers, Trump. Maybe you forgot about Oliver North and his testimony about Iran-Contra, forgot about the CIA's dealings in Nicaragua, about how they used Freeway Rick Ross to flood crack cocaine into the ghetto. You call us rapists, Trump. Are you speaking for the women of Juarez, for the victims of American sex tourism? Do you deny that when she dared to question you, you said that Megyn Kelly must have been bleeding out of her you-know-what? Do you deny that you frequently made comments about wanting to have sex with your own daughter? Do you deny that you continually call women, all women, and not just Rosie O'Donnell, pigs? Some say you're a joke, Trump, but when you use a platform of hate to become the president of the United States, I'm not laughing, because you've made it clear that there is a seething mess in the heart of this country that is deeply racist, xenophobic, Islamophobic, queerphobic, misogynist. You're no sideshow, Trump. You're the main stage. The old racism, the mean racism, back in town. We need to fight you now, or we may never get another chance. Some say you're a joke, Trump, but when you use a platform of hate to become the president of the United States, I'm not laughing, because I know that when you say that we are criminals, drug dealers, and rapists, you mean business, and so do I. Donald Trump, you are fired. Donald Trump, you should have stayed bankrupt, should have had your ties stapled to the sewing machines and the sweatshop factories you produce your clothes in, should have had your casinos and towers collapse on top of your head. You should have suffered a stroke in your tanning bed. And let the ultraviolet light slowly work its magic. Donald Trump, you should have had your hair caught in a freak accident and been swung around by it like a troll doll. You would have wished for anything, Trump. Because Latinx America is the future America. People of color America is the future America. And we don't take kindly to being called criminals, drug dealers, and rapists. We're the best of the best. The majority shareholders in 2044 or earlier. Donald Trump, you had better hope it isn't a hostile takeover. Thank you very much. My name is Romero. It's an instant classic. Flower Song Press. Give it up for me.
All right. Flower Song Press. Flower Song. We're actually at Cyprus the other day, and we had to go real quick because I had to go to another show. And I was all like, like Flower Song with me, Brianna and Dave. Flower Song Press. In the future, everyone will be published by Flower Song. We won't get published at all. An understatement. But that's just when I get caught up. Let's get that energy. All right. Up next. Sticking to the show. Arin Medina. Arin Medina is a poet and a spoken word artist. She's a member of Reforma del Valle Central. She advocating for Libros y Comunidad and Mothers Helping Mothers, an organization that works to alleviate crisis needs caused by political and environmental disasters. She is a UCCMP certified California naturalist and practiced floricanto as a part of her poetic process and exploration of California's natural history. Her work has appeared in Fresno State's Club Austral Literary Magazine, Chicano Writers and Artists Association Journal, La Bloga, Poets Responding, TESB 1070, Art of the Commune, Split This Rock, Nueva York Poetry Review, and is a part of a collection of original songs composed for the opera remix Fresno Grand Opera here in Fresno. So please welcome to stage your own, Fresno's own, Arin Medina.
Yo que estoy atada a la tierra y soy más californiana que el queso. Yo, me gusta hablar de la tierra y las flores, el agua, porque es lo más importante. In the end, we all need water to drink and soil to plant food in and places to survive. Composing words for California hills and mountains. Dry grasses make for great kindling and the softest movement of the wind. Remember this, it is precious, better than the money that you have in your banks. Driving through Pacheco Pass, I see the ghost of all of us, traveling, first south, then north, then home. The eyes see the goodness of the land. The heart feels it belongs to boulders, riverbeds, and valleys. We move with the boulders and the soil. Don't you feel it in your sinews, in your muscles, in your blood? We move, the land moves. The earth lifts us up together on the back of molten waves, but we think we stand still. We think we are greater than the mountains and the hills. We think we do not know. We are not permanent. There is nothing of permanence. Everything is in movement. I reach for the sky on the back of moving earth. Do not forget this. Oak trees blur by. I have never eaten anything made of acorn flour, but I point out the oak trees and tell my children, there is food on the branches, por si tienen hambre. Trees move through soil and rock. Acorns move in baskets, in water, in wind, and by the forces of gravity. Nosotros, que somos tierra, seguimos en constante movimiento. California. 3:26 a.m. They burned down the forests. They took all the water from the rivers. Why do my poems smell like burning things? Alarms are more subtle forms of warnings. No one reads poems to learn things. I am not a newspaper. I'm only screaming in the quietest way I know how. They've disappeared them. All of the things that we need to survive. They forget what is important. And they fill their baskets with oil. And they want more. And it's never enough. And we dig through our mother as though she has an endless supply. And we say, we can build more malls here. There's always things to buy. My poems are not newspapers. And you never really take a lesson from a poet, do you? It is the quietest way I have of screaming. Fue el Estado, I say. I say it over and over. And it does not matter what language I write it in. It does matter. It does matter what language I write it in. And so I write it in all the languages I know. And in the language of the soil itself. It talks to me. You should listen. Sometimes. Just touch it quietly. It's waiting. It needs you. It does not matter. It does not matter. So I keep on writing it until one day it matters. And one day it could be the reason they burn you down. They take you away. You could also be sold. There could be a mall on your house. Maybe you don't need to eat. Maybe we'll make something better than food. Maybe we'll grow something better than fruit. I know. They will find a reason. All of my poems are love poems. I like to tell you flower stories as though these were really the daily news. Inhale, exhale, I'm in love every day. Remember love? It is sometimes called compassion. It is sometimes called compassion. And little retoños living under a bridge they cannot cross makes writing about flowers today obscene. Little buds with no place to root down. The newsman says they were cleared out of that facility. Dirt floors, not flower beds, no super blooms beneath the bridge to take a picture for, just a fence, facility. How easy they say, que fácil es dejar morir los retoños queridos que no son los de tu jardín, porque no son de tu jardín, no los cuidas. Qué fácil es dejar morir los retoños cuando no son de tu jardín. The wind blows and the blossoms are scattered and end up sleeping at a Greyhound bus station without a destination or a blanket. Empty heart is screaming about every town becoming a border town. You mean a brown town, a soil town, an earthen town where flowers grow. Emilia hid her garden seeds from Guatemala in her clothes. She dropped them in the soil the moment she felt she was at home. May all of our flores find ground to call home and roots. We love our fictions and our mythologies that beyak. Fact about fiction, fiction about fact. The many-mouthed woman revealed herself to her people 1,000 years before the Spanish relayed the good news, and that God in heaven would love and welcome our brown bodies at the hour of our death. Amen. Blessed is she who demands tribute from the sacred ground at the Tepeyac, all mouths open. If you look away in terror, check your sensibilities at the door. This is the feminine spirit, the earth itself. It can be frightening when your own spirit is lacking, so small, insignificant. This home is protected by Tonatzin. Her earthen scales form a loving embrace around my fanged heart. I demand all, bleeding for all, giving to all. Why deny the divine? When the crown princess and everyone else will bow to her, our Mother Earth. The Spanish friars beheld her and shrunk into lies. How human to lie about things you do not understand. They tried to plunder the will of the people and instead assured the return of Tonatzin in all her might. All mouths open, stepping through time and bloodlines of my people through borders. I watched the young women placing their children on your altar, kneeling before you, Mother of all mothers. My serpent's tongue flickers with the candle flames, and we shed our skins, our old husks, us, those of us that are part of this soil, all land, all brothers and sisters, our maguey leaves, our bermudia petals, we leave them behind. Thorn flowers spring from the marble floor of the church, and we rise from the pews as one. Fuck your conquest. Sometimes my love poems are sprinkled with spicy. Stone, de piedra sangre. I make my own heaven. I drag it out of the streets and unhospitable terrains. I mix tabique, brick and mortar with my hands, meaning I need to make my own heaven. I sing the songs I know that'll remind you about what is important and what waits in the land that we need to protect. Seed bank. The seed bank, life encapsulated, waiting dormant, life in status, rich in variety, for years passing, life waiting for fire, for wind, for water, for upheaval, for a leader, land waiting, exposure, shell to sun, to trickle of water, droplets of condensation to spring into the action of sprouting, reminding us of what once stood, a relic and brand new at the same time. What is lived leaves remnant, leaves imprint, leaves future. Nothing is forgotten in the soil. The seed bank remembers the direction of the rhizomes, the pattern in leaves, the unfurling of stems, the blooming of flowers into fruit. Human memory forgets what the ancestors searched for and bit into, savored and filled their bellies with, forgets flavors and poisons, forgets colors and scents. But the earth holds all memories and returns them to the surface when we least expect to find forget-me-nots. Watch the hills when they burn. No life is waiting for the flame, for a leader, for something to set it free in the seed bank.
That manuscript is a whole like bidding war between everybody. Flower Song's gonna get her. Flower Song, just you watch. All right. So the next poet up. We're almost time to bring the man himself up. But the next poet up. Let me get this one. Let me get the bar for this next guy. All right. This next poet has been described as the best political poet in America, as well as the poet laureate of the struggle by academics, poets, and journalists alike. He was the recipient of the 2017 Joe Hill Labor Poetry Award, a panelist at the 2020 Texas Book Festival, participant the 2011 San Francisco Poetry Festival, the 2022 Elba Poetry Festival, has appeared on C-SPAN, been featured in the Los Angeles Times, Axios, Associated Press, among many other publications, spoken in Customers American, blah, 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 it's me. Sundown, Levittown, Porter Patch, Dirty Harry, John Wayne, Blackface, Minuteman, Moynihan, Gone with the Wind, Breaking Bad. Washington, Redskin, Confederate flag, the sword, the dollar, the cannon, the scholar, the cavalry, the Ivy League. History is written by lightning as the rising smoke of burning village. The ways in which victors keep their victims. A fronted these notes on the state of Virginia extraction, expansion, the winning of the West, Lewis and Clark, Smith and Wesson on circle the wagon with bloodshed and slave sweat, the crack of the whip, the law 3/5, the Crown Republic, King Cotton, 10 failures of Reconstruction, the housing covenants that created great migrations, the same to the Mexicans at poor Mexico. So far from heaven and so close to Monroe Doctrine. To Davy Crockett. To prison industrial complex, a war on drugs is a war on our young. Bloody Christmas. Reefer Madness. 15 to life for 4 ounces, East Oakland. West Baltimore. South LeBron, Auburn, North, Plymouth Rock. Jamestown. The Rio Grande. Stolen lives. Stolen land. Some were born in summer homes and palatial groves with pain. It was only to unfold from the pages of secret gardens the red friend grows, but not I. See, I come from the south of star-eyed astronauts, weak the night sky, big dreams and wide eyes, always running. Down the Devil's Highway through occupied America, all the way back to house on Mango Street. And those are the books he wants to read. Raise a handball off the back wall of a panaderia born east the river, post Mendez versus Westminster, one generation with the red lines. And diplomas that were signed with those dreams in that skin need not apply. See, I come from struggle. And if my story offends you, you made the mistake of seeking your reflection in my self-portrait. See this. Well, it's not to be about you. Because someone born in the Common Core, whose reflected faces grace the pages of doctrine discovered and age to be explored. Where old world hardships crashed against new shores, New England, New Hampshire, New Jersey, New York, for others pushed off Turtle Island. Aslan, do not call this brown skin immigrant. Child of the sun. Son of the conquest, me, got no blood. Run through the veins, east side of Los Angeles. Do not tell him, and when a tongue and song will best be sung, do not tell me who I am. Because I was raised like you. Miseducating some of those very same schools off lessons and legends of honest Indians and Christian pilgrims and a nation of immigrants all united in freedom. Listen until they pulled aside my white friend, put it directly at me and said, Scott, I judge you by the company you keep and you spend your time with this. That same old story is 1846. You bench Uncle Sam and stick up, man, a wet bag. Show me your papers, I'll give me your labor, the melting pot. It's never made for the hands to clean it. The American dream has always come at the expense of those who tucked it in. You don't know that. Because you don't teach it. Could write you a book, but you won't read it. See, this is about you. In 1492, in the Treaty of Wailuku, And California missions and Arizona schools, these racists that try to raise their kids in cities that bear our names. You're going to learn something today, from Ferdinand to Minuteman, from Arpaio to Alamo, from Pope Buddha to the Indian, to lives in need, from Memphis to 8, to 643, trying to bury us. They didn't know we were seeds, Canadian minds, and strike the Pandiala, Mizupada, Joaquin Murrieta, Azarlitas, Brown Baresi, Zapatiste, Richard Nixon, to Napoleon, from Peckinpah to Houston, from Lone Star Republic to Christopher Columbus, all the way down to Donald Trump. We didn't cross the borders crossed us. Who you calling immigrant? Pilgrim. Woo! Yeah. Alright, so I got 2 books here, and I'm gonna tell you what.
Right.
$20, but I will give $10 to every book sale to the Luis J. Rodriguez campaign. So half of whatever I sell today is going straight to the campaign, okay? Do one poem. I'm not a rich man though, so I do need your support. This poem is a persona poem. That means it's not me. I've actually had people protest while I was doing this poem. Like, we will rise against you. It's like, wait. You think I'm a billionaire who came to this open mic in Downey in front of 6 people? It's like bragging your face? Like, that's not, no, it's a satire. So everyone here should know, it's not me. It's a persona. All right. The rich, well, they're not like you and me. They see an opportunity, they grab it. Reach for the stars and they put them in their pocket. Company stays in the red, but they're backed by the government. Storms public dimes, the lines of pure profit. Research and development, the rich, wow. They didn't breed. Champagne wishes and caviar dreams, thoroughbred stallions, quarterly national seed, water horizon, blood diamonds, golden parachutes, silicon messiahs, feasting on endangered species, serving silver platters, lunar palaces carved from tips of icebergs, 6-figure charters, vulture capital, $1 million comforts, fucking life like an apple, insured by suicide nets, lifestyles of the criminally negligent, but you haven't lived. So you've launched a car into space for no fucking reason. And that's what I call freedom. The rich, well, here's how it is. Dollars and cents. Trademark and rent. Facts and figures, lines and ledger, dribs and debt, building future increasing productivity, union busting back to the 100-hour work week, treating the fat, rich monopolies with real money, shorts and best. Now, my friend, sell the rich, stay rich, will the rest make poor decisions in its pure ecstasy, living in the lap of luxury, pushing pharmaceuticals, the markup, the market will bear your body to its altar at a life or death bargain, the gospel of wealth, because it is what it is, and that's all it's ever been. The less we spend, the more we keep. You see, the rich and the poor. Well, just like you and me. 2 hands, 2 feet, the sky, the sea, and everything between, one heart that beats in the time to make the most of it, to find no sympathy, reach into these deep pockets. All we ever asked was for our fair share, God damn it! That's all of it. So we're on the streets, scream for peace and justice. We sleep in satin sheets, dream free and guiltless over oceans and tariffs, liquidating pensions, then off the bid on porcelain and portraits at $1 billion auctions. You know you need us. You know we're selling your secrets. You know some Tennessee nakeds, watching the puppets on television to make freedom, free speech, fascism, democracy, reaching the earth, punch through the ozone, and fuel the economy with space stations. Yes, space stations. Hydrating the red planet. We're gonna survive this lava pit. So we got pots and pans. We got deeds and plans. Chopping down rainforest. Colonizing the moon. We're the rich. Who the fuck are you? We'll privatize the water supply and then copyright the tears falling from your eyes. Burn it all down. What the hell are you talking about? The ice caps already melting. You want to start some shit? Eat the rich. We're already killing your kids. 1 carbon footprint, 1 gas house emission, 1 oil, 1 naval ship, 1 free trade agreement at a time. We'll get away with it too. Nothing we say or do is ever held against us. Have you been paying attention? We're rich. Woo! One more that I wrote about a half an hour ago. No, about an hour ago. There we go. Power of the people, the power of the people, poesía para la gente, poetry like bread, poets for Luis, I believe, is for everyone. Gather round, see the crowd, hear the sound, share the vision, power of the people, poets for Luis, a man of the people, a brother, a son, a husband, a father, an author, essayist, journalist, gang interventionist, pillar of the community, novelist, memoirist, living legend, archived, enshrined, immortalized, but still climbing, still rising, still fighting for the people, power to the people, share in the vision, end poverty and homelessness, Medicare for all, address the pandemic, end discrimination in housing, schooling, and education, break the prison industrial complex, meet the needs, not the profits, dream big, dream poetic, power to the people, the power of the people, poesía para la gente. There is power in the poetry. We were all born poets. This, I believe, Poets for Luis. Bio. I got a bio for the man of the hour. I would be remiss. Let's see. I am already remiss because I am not.
Just make it up.
Luis Rodriguez is author of My Name is Hunger and New Selected Poems 2005, a short story collection, Republic of East LA 2001, Music of the Mill 2005. He is best known as a memoir of East LA gang life, always running Mi Vida Loca, Gang Days in LA 1993, which won the Carl Sandburg Literary Award, a Chicago Sun-Times Book Award, and was designated New York Times Notable Book. It became a stage play by Cornerstone Theater Company at the Mark Taper Auditorium in LA Public Library and at the Ivar Theater in Hollywood. His sequel, Always Running, is entitled It Calls You Back, an Odyssey Through Love, Addiction, Revolutions, and Healing, 2011. He has published a book of poetry, Borrowed Bones, 2006, and a memoir, Our Land to Our Land, Essays and Journeys and Imaginings of a Native Chicanx Writer. His work has appeared in The Nation, Grand Street, Los Angeles Weekly, and the American Review, among many others. He's also the winner of the Landman Foundation, wow, the Landman Foundation, that's kind of like an insider thing. Landman Foundation is fucking huge, okay? A Landman Foundation Fellowship, where his poetry has won the Poetry Center Book Award, a Penn, Josephine Miles Literary Award, a Patterson Poetry Prize, among others. His children's books, America Is Her Name, 1998, and Doesn't Have to Be This Way, of Audio Story, 1999, have won the Patterson Young Adult Book Award, 2 Skipping Stones Honors Awards, and Parents' Choice Book Award. Rodriguez has been widely anthologized, and articles in his book have appeared widely. He's currently running for governor, the man of the hour. Please put your hands together for Luis Sherry.
I know that you would expect me to do poetry, but I'm gonna hold off on that. I may or may not. I think what I wanna do is just have a really nice talk with you all, because I think this is a very important time. I will tell you something that I was just thinking just now. I've been trying to run for governor since I was 6 years old. I didn't know it then, but I'll tell you why. I was at school in Watts, and in those days, if you spoke Spanish, you were punished. And I remember one time, I was 6 years old, and I walked into my sister's kindergarten class to pick her up, and I started saying something in Spanish. And the teacher got me in front of the class and slapped me across the face. And I thought about that because I think, man, I've been ready for governor since then. And I've been ready for governor since I got into all the struggle I got beaten down 3 years later, 9 years old, and my jaw got cracked and people tried to humiliate me, and I was so totally humiliated. I told myself I would never ever be on that ground beaten down like that. And I think I've been running since then. Yes, I got into a lot of trouble. I joined the gang, did a lot of drugs, was in and out of jails. But I do remember being homeless 3 years, knowing what that's like in the street. And I remember 4 of my friends killed by police officers, unarmed. 2 were my best friends. And I'm going to say their names, because I don't always mention them. Miguel Robles, Daniel Cabrera, Ruben Martinez, and David Dominguez. And so I've been running since then. I've been running when I ended up having to work in industry, and having to work in foundries, and having to work in steel mills, and getting beaten down and knocked around, and working 16-hour days. I remember learning a lot of skills, but not enough money for everything that I learned. And I remember when I last got fired in industry because I was trying to help these undocumented guys that they had brought in who weren't being paid nothing to do the work that the rest of us weren't willing to do. And I got fired for that, and that's why I'm running for governor. And I remember I was a journalist. I thought, I'm going to be a journalist. I'm going to be a writer. I'm going to work in newspapers. Got me a job in San Bernardino Sun newspaper. Thought it was the biggest thing going. It didn't last for 2 years because I covered a story about how the police choked to death a homeless man. And the editor and the police chief were playing golf every Sunday, and they did everything they could to stop that story. And I had to resign because I can't work with you all. You guys ain't journalists. And then they completely ostracized me from working in daily newspapers ever again. That's why I'm running for governor. I can go on and on. I'm running for governor because there's a lot of injustice in the world. I'm giving you my personal injustices, but I know that this goes fold after fold after fold in our communities all over the state, all over the country. We have lost so much to police violence, to war, terrible work conditions, to war, to all the things that I avoided to go to Vietnam, because I remember I was sitting in jail and they offered me to go to Vietnam. I said, I'm not going to Vietnam, I'm at war here. And I've kept that war going. I didn't have to be violent about it, which I learned, but I did have to keep fighting. And that was important for me, to make sure that we don't stop fighting and get better at it. Because I did it very, not too smart, but I did it better later on. I'm running for governor because it's time for us to speak out for all those who cannot, at this moment, say all the truths that we know are there. We need to bring these truths out. We're living in a world of lies. Everything's a big con. We're being conned by everybody. The government, the banks, the financial institutions, everything. And we have got to be the ones that say, here is the real deal. This is what's going on. Don't put us aside. Don't marginalize us because we want universal health care for people, as if that's something that we shouldn't have. Or we want the best schools for all our kids, as if what a weird idea that is. Or because we want everybody to have a decent home.
Exactly.
Why do we get marginalized for that? That's what's happening. I raise these issues saying, oh, that's too left, that's too crazy, that's too whatever. I say, are you kidding me? This is the way we should have been, always. And they make it sound like something's wrong with me because I have these ideas that all of us care about. That we don't have prisons that become the largest public poor people's housing in the state. And this is to me why I'm running. It isn't about me as an individual, but it's about us together saying we're going to make sure that we occupy every space with these issues. And I get it, that electoral arena is an inept, corrupt space. It's one of the worst ones. One of the problems we're having up and down the state is people don't want to vote anymore. I totally understand. You have nobody to vote for. When you do vote, it doesn't result much. I get all that. But we have got to not lose these spaces. We have got to occupy all of them. We have got to fight for all of them to have the meaningful, matter-filled issues that we know we have to raise. We have to fight for all of them. Yeah, I don't care how much the corporations and big money controls them. We have to be there because the more we walk away, the more they control. When they win, we lose. That's what's happening. And so I want to make sure that this is the challenge that all of us can be behind. I am climbing a long, hard mountain, huge mountain, but we're climbing it. We're climbing it together. And we're going to need to have everybody's ability to go out there, because I'm not going to be able to have the kind of money that even Governor Newsom has. I think 25 million or more, I think he has. And then the Republicans, there's a whole mess of them running. There's 26 people running in this primary. Most of them are Republicans. They're going to raise their corporate dough. Everybody's going to have corporate money but me. But we have got to be able to challenge Newsom and the status quo to the point that on June 7th, anybody can vote. I don't care what party. This is the new primary system. You don't have to be registered in any party. You all can vote for me on June 7th. But we got to convince others. This is your time to get out there. The ballot is going to come in your home in May. It's going to come to your home. You can send it off to home. You don't have to have an excuse for sending it absentee. Just send it. It's easier in that sense. Let's make sure we can convince people. People don't know this. We've talked to somebody that knows stuff. A politically savvy person who didn't know that you can do that. We have got to educate people. This is an opportunity. My goal is on June 7th to beat everybody else. So I'm not going to beat Newsom on June 7th. He gets 70% of the vote. Doesn't matter. I just have to beat everybody else. To be that person that challenges them all the way to the end. That's what what I love about poetry is that the poetry is truth. And I love these poets for Luis, because that's what I am and that's what the truth is, and that's what we got to keep at it. And how many candidates are poets? You know, we probably could use more poets running for office.
That's right.
Because, we just need to have that truth constantly out there. And I want to make sure that people have asked me, because they say, oh, you're going to be like everybody else. I'm going to tell you something. And if anybody that knows me knows that I've always been this way. So again, like since I was 6 years old, I've always been struggling. I even talked to homies, and they would sit there and argue with me about the past, and then they would say, you know, you always are about this stuff, you know. I didn't even know it, really. I was always about justice and change, and the kind of change that's going to benefit everybody. And I want to make sure that that stays stronger, and I get better at it, and trying to get that message, and trying to people get mobilized and organized. We're coming across a terrible time in our history as humanity. You know, and you know what I'm talking about. Not just Ukraine, the whole environment, the political disarray in our country, which, you know, it's been there for a long time, but I was completely disarrayed. There is no viable political way within the parties that exist today. I'm not saying that some of those Democrats aren't good people. I'm not saying that that might not even be good Republicans. I'm not even saying that. I'm just saying that institutional, corporate-run groups are the ones that are destroying the politics in our country. And this is what we have to change. This is why we're doing the Green Party. This is why we're doing the Peace and Freedom Party. This is why the Justice Party. This is why we're getting these small parties that are small, but still have those issues as part of the platform. Because the Democratic Party forgot all that platform. Forgot why they got there. Forgot the working class that put them up there and just turned away from them. It's time for us to make sure that we have parties that actually represent what we're about and won't back out and won't take corporate donations and make this a people-powered campaign all the way through. That's what we need to do, and that's what I'm about. And I want to make sure that all of you are with me. Again, it's an uphill battle, but guess what? All our lives, we've had uphill battle. We've said all the odds are against you. Man, the odds have been against me since I was 6 years old. They've been against me all my life. And guess what? Here we are. And we're going to struggle. Little by little, money, dollar by dollar, volunteer by volunteer, we're going to struggle. And I want to make sure that I do my part. Again, this is not about me as an individual, you know, because I learned that a long time ago. I stopped being important as an individual in that sense when I put myself in the hands of revolution. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. And once you're in that, and you can't say it's about me personally. I am personally involved, but guess what? It's because of something bigger. And anything that I do has got to be for the collective good. It's not about me personally. How good is it going to work? I'm actually pretty blessed considering that I'm still around at my age, it's still active, I still can speak, and I still got my wits about me, I think. I don't know. But the idea being that I'm still here, let's keep fighting until I can't fight anymore. Let's keep moving until we can't move anymore. But we got to, again, also engender a new generation, which is what I love about this campaign, the Briannas, and even the Matts, who's another generation, Ramiro, my son, and so many young people working this campaign. I can give you all kinds of names, but this is to me what's important. It's young people taking this on because I'm going to come and go, but that movement has to keep going. And that's what's important, to keep fighting, and maybe some other people can step up. So let me do a reform. And then what I'm going to do is open it up just very quickly to what questions you might have, just because I want to answer every question that there's there. And I'm going to read you this poem. I wrote it as my press release when I first started writing. I gave my press release to all the media. They didn't know what to do with it because they never had a poem as a press release. It's about time that they got to see one. So I'm just going to read the poem that I wrote. It's imagine a new California for shared world being, then it's good. California, a marvelous state with every terrain possible. California with climates and natural environments unrivaled in the world, and yet with poison and degraded landscapes, ecosystems scarring our land, with wildfires and drought made worse by global heating, a destabilized climate threatening conditions for life. All of it is preventable. And that's an important point. None of this stuff had to be this bad. All of it was preventable. Talk to indigenous elders and leaders. They'll tell you how to prevent wildfires. They'll tell you how to deal with troubled young men and women. They'll tell you how to do it. And nobody ever went to them. They said, again, they marginalized and pushed them aside, threw them out of their lands, and yet they had the wisdom, the voices. California, a wonderfully diverse state with a rich blend of cultures and peoples, wisdoms and talents from the indigenous and around the world. California, a land of plenty, with massive industries, and still there's widespread poverty, hunger, homelessness. There's vast wealth and power concentrated in the hands of a few, while many of us hardly subsist. Our governance, our body politics fails us hijacked by corporate and political entities organized against the rest of us. There's a winner-take-all electoral process that underrepresents our voices, our hopes, our dreams. We've been betrayed by an economic system that prioritizes profit, not people, rewards greed, not meeting human need. It's time for a change, time for a new California. My name is Luis K. Rodriguez. I'm running for governor. I'm running on a politics of soul, of death, with solutions commensurate to the problems. I'm for a state that puts people and the environment first, with justice and sustainability as our guiding principles for quality education, housing, healthcare for all, for the respect and dignity of every worker, with economic security and prosperity for everyone, and all this while protecting and restoring our beautiful, beautiful land, recalibrating technology in accord with nature, our own natures, and the divine. The best political campaigns are about more than just elections. They can also be about how to build vital social movements. All of this is what my campaign is about. Please join me. Let's imagine a new California for shared well-being. Then let's build it. Open it up for your questions and comments. This is being shared live, just so you know. If you don't want to be on it, just let us know. But we want people to get this message. So I want to open it up to any of you that might have any questions, comments, or anything. Challenge me any way you can. I appreciate all of that. Okay.
Sure. What are some of the challenges in this pandemic era, or hopefully post-pandemic era that you would like to address as governor?
Well, I think one of the biggest things, the pandemic was another one of preventable things that now people realize you can see the unraveling of our whole system. The pandemic wasn't just killing our people, which it killed a lot of people. It also unraveled the political, economic, and social system. And they're trying to patch it up, and they can't do it, but they're working at it, and it's going to be against us. And this is why I think we have to speak out that the pandemic was the thing that opened up everything. Bad, good, right, or wrong, it's what happened. Now we got an opportunity to begin to reweave everything together, to begin to reimagine, but also reconstruct what we're trying to do. I love when young people after George Floyd murder was saying, let's reimagine, let's reset, let's start systematic. Let's not just manage crisis, let's get to the root. That's what they were saying, and I want to be able to say that, because to me that was like, the white people are now the young people. They're saying all the white stuff. And so I think that's what this is about. You're getting back to doing that, recalibrating the whole thing, but making it work, not just doing it because it sounds good, but to actually get to the root of where we need to go. Yeah.
Luis, what are your thoughts about all these mass shootings that we're having nationwide? The most recent ones are the ones in New York, and also the recent one that had in Sacramento, where 6 people died, and one of them was a daughter from Selma. Mother never going to see her daughter again. And like you're talking, there's corruption in Congress. There's 70-80% every year of even gun owners saying we should have more strict gun laws, but nobody does it because of Congress. They're so corrupt.
So let's just say they're corrupt because they get a lot of money from the big manufacturers. They get a lot of money from gun lobbies. They get a lot of money from, that's why they don't do anything. Money controls everything here. Money is controlling the political process. We have got to challenge that. There's got to be a revolution in our thinking and our organizing to say we don't want big money in our politics. The one thing I would say about all this crime that's coming up, all of that is preventable too. But you got to look in the front end of it. Where is the good schools? Where is the good housing? Where is the resources? Where are the jobs? People don't even have jobs anymore. When I worked in that industry, where's that industry? It's all gone. It's not coming back. Remember the Walmarting of America? The industry was leaving in the 70s and 80s. By the end of the 80s, the biggest private employer was Walmart. You got Amazon. This is what happened. And people lost their union jobs. Remember when there were so many union jobs? They're gone. People lost benefits. People lost decent pay. So, and began paid part-time. Remember how they started paying everybody part-time because they wanted to give them benefits by giving them full-time work? They played us all. And then we had this crisis, 2008, the mortgage crisis. People lost their homes. People wonder why there's homelessness everywhere. It wasn't because they're all mentally ill and they're all on drugs. I get that's happening. It's because they lost their homes. They were foreclosed, millions of homes foreclosed. People were being conned and used, and then they didn't, what, they rewarded all the banks who did it. This is the world that we're in. They gave them more than $1 trillion to help the banks stay afloat while throwing us out of our homes. And I mention all these things to say that this is an important time in which we need to say that we're stopping the con. We're stopping it. We're not gonna be conned anymore. We're not gonna be sold a bill of goods. We're gonna say, let's make it happen. And the best way is for us to do it ourselves. I'm not gonna bring in a third party or other people. We have got to bring in the most impacted people. The unhoused, the unschooled, the unheard. Get them right in there. People have asked me, what are you specifically gonna do? And I have a lot of specifics, but let me tell you, the processes, I'm gonna bring in a lot of people who know better than me. It's not about one guy who's very smart. It's about a collective of us coming together and using our smarts and all our brains, and people who've been there, who've been impacted, getting out there and saying, I know the answer, I have the answer to all this. Why don't they go to the unhoused? Why don't they go to the people who aren't working? That's where I think it has to belong. So I say all that because, again, crime is another issue. Go to the people in these communities. They'll tell you how to stop crime. Do something with their kids. Help their kids. Help these parents working 2 or 3 jobs. People say it was all the parents' fault, but I know my mom and dad both worked 2 or 3 jobs, and that was 50 some years ago. In other words, this is a still real problem. I was a latchkey kid because you can't help it. You got no babysitting money, you know. So I'm gonna fall to the cracks just like a lot of these people. And it doesn't say that this isn't horrible and some really good people did some terrible things. I was one of those people, but I will tell you, work on the front end of it, and then you don't have to put that much in the back end. Because the back end is no answer. All this is more prisons, more laws, more police, more militarized attack in our community. That's what the back end is. And that's what they want to bring back. Right now in LA, the great liberal LA, is talking about criminalizing the homeless again. Talking about bringing in criminalization of all the people. You know what I'm saying? So I think that this is why we have to go back to our original plan, the original design. Work on the front end. Give us a chance to live, as Clarence Darrow once said. That's you want to stop crime? Just give people a chance to live. And that's what I would put my emphasis.
Just to piggyback off of what we were saying, what I like to say is, where you shop is where you create jobs, which is why I stopped shopping at Amazon, Walmart, Target over 10 years ago, but I'm not judging anybody. But anyways, my question or inquiry to yourself is that we're in like a social media, like obviously with all the there's so many platforms out there. So you know what I see that you're recording here, but through like YouTube excerpts and like there's others, Vimeo, Daily Motion. If you have that, I will share. I've actually been Green Party for the last 2 presidential elections, and I was inspired by you before I heard you today. So now it's like, I would really like this message with a lot of organizations. I would like to just throw links out there all over the place. And so if, I don't know, if you're on those 3 videos, like.
We absolutely are, and that's what young people have brought to us, and they've taken us there. So
Awesome.
Here's what I would say, go to Luis4governor.org. Gives you a lot of information, but also all our handles. We got them all, social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, we got them all. Also, we have here AJ Wright is my campaign manager. Talk to him. Connect with him, give me your card, so we got you on our volunteer database so we can get you out there. What I love what you're saying is, we don't have to be the stream. We have to work with other streams. People got their own connections. Get them to use their connections. Go out there so it builds like that. Not just build by us centralizing it, but decentralizing it. Get people out there to say, I got a social media connection. Send it out there. That's how we're going to move, and that's where I really like what you're saying. Let's use this because, again, we're not going to have the big bucks. We're going to try to raise a lot of money. We're going to ask for your money. We're going to try to do this, but we're not going to be able to have the big bucks. We're going to have the big dream and the big delivery, and that's going to mean you get out there, getting the word out, get your friends, going on those streams. That's the only way we're going to try to at least impact this part of the game.
Yeah, there's this one on your chair thing. You have all the handles.
Handles. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah. Well, anybody else?
Okay, great.
So, thank you for being here. That's great. As you all know,
You better disclosure, yeah.
so that I know. So, maybe you mentioned a little bit about tomorrow. It's happening tomorrow.
Absolutely, I can
And
do
then,
that.
and then also too, why Fresno? Why are you
Yeah.
here?
So there's two things. One is we will be here tomorrow. I am gonna be at Holmes Playground. Now, we're gonna start at 6 in the morning, for those that want to do a Mexica sunrise ceremony. And so if you want to, it's up to you, show up. We're gonna have some blessings, some words, some danza, a little bit of drums and everything. And then at 10, we're gonna have a little bit more blessing, a little bit more Mexica. We're gonna apparently have some other indigenous elders that I understand will show up. And then we're gonna start a rally. I didn't wanna connect it too much because the rally is not quite the same as the Mexica ceremony. But what I really love is we're gonna start with blessing. We're gonna start with land recognition. So please come. If you can't do the morning thing at 10 o'clock, we're gonna start there at the Holmes Playground. And we're just gonna have speakers and we're just gonna raise these issues. And we're gonna invite the encampments people. Hashi works, Hashi. This is my brother. He worked so hard. He went around with an invitation to all the encampment people to invite them to come. We wanna make sure that they know we're in your house, we know you're in your house, come and join us so that they're invited. So please come tomorrow, it's very important. This is a kickoff. I know we've been doing the campaign for a while, but this is the official kickoff. Why Fresno? Fresno is the heart of the Central Valley. It's the beginning of the Central Valley. Central Valley is the heart of poverty, agriculture, and so much industry that gets forgotten. This is the poorest part of the state and also poorer than some of the states in the South. This is an area that gets neglected. I know people don't know that. Central Valley is as poor as some of the poorest states in the South. We have neglected as a state this area. And if we lift up the Central Valley, we will be lifting up the whole state. And this is why we want to start in Fresno. Because we don't want to forget that for those communities that others have forgotten. So to me, this is what's important. I'm not a big city guy. I've lived in LA all my life. I've been in San Francisco. I love the big cities. I lived in Chicago 15 years. But I know where poverty is hardest, and that's what we got to do. And I really want you all to be part of that movement to make sure that we get as many of our Central Valley voters to thinking about a real alternative to Newsom, not just accepting whatever he has to give, because people say he's got all these things, but he's actually backed off and heard so many things. He's not pulled through on the environment. He's not pulled through for the farm workers, as you know what he did. He didn't pull through for universal health care. He is actually hurting our movements to move forward our communities, and this is why we need to have a real alternative to this. So please go to your neighbors. We're starting here because this is where we need to be.
I have a question. I mean, we are in this beautiful place up here, with beautiful people, poets who are giving us all this stuff. So my question would be, as a governor, what would you do for arts? Right, with the arts in general and
So this happens to be at the heart of what I've been doing for last few years. Bringing arts, neighborhood arts, right to the community. The reason why, arts is transformative. Arts is essential. Arts is healing. But yet we don't have real arts programming, real arts galleries. We don't have bookstores in our neighborhoods. We don't, we got neighborhoods, and I'm talking about LA, but I know it's true everywhere else, where you can get any gun you want. You can get any drug. I don't care what drug laws are there, but you can't buy a book. So my plan is to bring arts to every neighborhood, theater and cultural cafes and art galleries like this. What a beautiful space. And I'm glad that it's in the neighborhood. This is what we need everywhere. We need to have real programming for people to get arts, learn. We teach kids how to play music. Kids that didn't have nothing. The one Salvadoran kid, his mother was telling him that she was worried he was going to be a gang and didn't know what to do. She brought him to a culture center that me and my wife started called Teatro Centro Cultural Bookstore. If every year in San Fernando Valley you go there, it's your home. Beautiful, it's amazing. We spent 20 years creating a beautiful space. She said she took him there because she said, I didn't know what else to do. He took guitar lessons. He became so good. He moved to Sacramento as a virtuoso guitarist right now in Sacramento, working in an orchestra. And he was a kid that she thought he was lucky. And she was worried he was going to get in trouble. Now he's doing good. I can tell you more stories. This arts transforms lives. So we want to make sure that every neighborhood has art. There's no movie houses anymore. Whatever happened to movie houses? You got to go outside your neighborhood and go to a movie. LA is the entertainment capital of the world. In my neighborhood, You have to leave your neighborhood, our neighborhood, just to catch a movie. There's no movie houses there. So let's transform our community to the others.
Yeah.
You got a disclosure, you got a disclosure?
I'm wondering too, if you could speak up for a moment, about having galleries and bookstores and so on and arts in our communities. In some cases, what happens is when those kind of businesses start, it turns out that that's the beginning of gentrification. So, how do you see the importance of the community that lives there being able to?
So this, by the way, is my wife, Katie, so she's asking the hardest question. Can't you do that, which is good. We know that people have used the arts to open up our communities. We know this is happening. But if it's community arts, that's not the same. When theater just started, it's all community. We found the artists out there, they just had no place to go. We found the poets, we found the singers, we found the artists, the muralists, we found people making there's one guy used to make indigenous flutes, all by himself. Going to the swap meet, trying to sell them, and we gave him a space. We know the artists everywhere. We don't have to make art out of people, they already have it in them. We just give them that space and the talent and the skills and resources so they can make something of it. So that's different than going in there to gentrify your community, because we know that's what happens.
Yeah.
And we've seen it over again. We've seen art galleries, even when people in our community open up, and then gentrification happens. But I think what's important is that the art is community-based, brings community people, and about community, it actually keeps the community strong and firm. That's what I believe. So I think this is important to support these art communities that are here, this beautiful center, to support them and keep them here before some big-time galleries come in and start pushing you out. This is the way it's worked in LA. We saw it in Chicago, same old thing. So let's make sure that we don't fall into that trap. But again, we don't do no arts because we don't want gentrification. No, we make it our art. We make it people art. We make it our community art. So, thank you all. I just want to thank you for being here. Oh,
I just want one more time. Strangely enough, I'm going to switch things around a bit. I want to answer your question. Last week on the phone, you were talking about how every time you tried to talk to people, they were saying to you, but you don't have the money, the name recognition, and all that stuff. How do you expect to win? But then it dawned on me, about a couple of days later, it dawned on me that, everybody's seen a television show, a movie show, a theater, a play. I mean, all around the world. And what is the main plot? Some poor person works hard to win, despite the fact that there are people telling them, you can't win, you're never going to succeed. It's been around for over 100 years. It's literally part of our blood. It is, in a sense, who we are. The idea that he can't win is a total violation, is an anti-American, more even John Wayne would have to say he's an American. Because the opportunity for him to win is there. We see it every day, whether we're watching television, a movie, a theater, a play, or whatever. Because no matter what happens, the good guy wins. And here's the good guy. Now we've got to make him win. That's the hard part, but it's up to us. And remember, there are more people that want him to be governor than those who don't. But they need to know where and who he is. Well, that is my answer to your question.
thank you. Thank you all. This is going to be the end. Thank you for being here. Come back tomorrow. Okay?
Yeah,